Very true, Stacey Lynn. He did not pull any punches with regard to the NCAA and its investigation. As we just heard, he started things off by issuing an apology to the Syracuse community, to the SU alumni base, and to anyone who felt embarrassed by what was going on. However, Boeheim quickly went on the defensive, standing up for his actions as it pertains to the NCAA's allegations that he failed to promote an atmosphere of compliance. He says that that could not be further from the truth. The Hall of Famer pointed out that he has monthly meetings with compliance officials to make sure that his program is operating within the guidelines of the NCAA's bylaws. He also said he has daily meetings with academic advisors to make sure that his players are doing everything they should be doing as students. And that's where Coach Boeheim took the most exception, was the NCAA's allegations that he was somehow encouraging academic misconduct.
This is far from a program where student athletes freely committed academic fraud. I note that during the same time period, the committee found that 3 student athletes in the football program did commit academic fraud. These infractions did not go unnoticed, but the penalties on the football program were far less than what was imposed on the basketball program. Does the central issue of head coach responsibility apply only to the basketball program? This illustrates the arbitrary manner in which the NCAA issues its penalties, not just from school to school, but even within a single institution.
Jim Boeheim was apt to point out that in the 10 years that the NCAA investigated Syracuse University, there was only one instance of academic impropriety. That was the Fab Melo case, and Coach Boeheim attributed that directly to his former director of basketball operations, Stan Kissel, who is no longer employed by the university, and a receptionist who worked in the SU athletics office. He says other than that, there was no rampant academic fraud going on under his watch. And he also called the penalties that the NCAA has imposed on Syracuse unduly harsh, and says he plans to appeal them.
Now, Sal, we know that Boeheim has set that 3-year timeline for his retirement. What did he have to say about how that all came about, when discussions started, and also the future of the basketball program with Mike Hopkins possibly taking over when he leaves?
Well, as we pointed out yesterday, Coach Boeheim quickly brought up the fact that he's 70 years old. So there was a very likely scenario in which he was going to step aside as head coach sometime in the immediate future. He even intimated today that he was not planning to coach this long or to even remain for another 3 years as SU basketball's top guy. But in the wake of the NCAA's investigation and subsequent findings, Coach Boeheim felt that he could not walk away from this. He wasn't going to back down, and he certainly did not want to turn anything over to a potential successor, be it assistant coach Mike Hopkins or someone else. He wanted everything to be wrapped up and have his handprints on it, since he felt ultimately responsible for what was going on. So the coach made it sound like he might have retired far sooner were it not because of this NCAA investigation. He believes 3 years gives him adequate time to continue doing his job, to wrap things up as it pertains to this whole ordeal, and then to move on. He was asked specifically about Mike Hopkins. He said that he would love to see Mike Hopkins take over. He hopes that Mike Hopkins takes over as the next head coach. However, Jim Boeheim did point out he does not make the decisions at Syracuse University. He says the hiring of the next head men's basketball coach will ultimately be decided by the new chancellor, Kent Severud. It's his decision to make, not Jim Boeheim's. So now everybody we've heard from on the SU Hill who is in a position of authority has kind of danced around the Mike Hopkins issue. We know that there is nothing formalized, nothing in place. So while it remains the plan in the minds of a lot of folks that Mike Hopkins would be the head coach in waiting and would succeed his former mentor and coach Jim Boeheim, there's nothing concrete that would lead you to believe that is definitively happening, at least at this point in time.